The movie inspirations behind The Bachelor's most iconic dates revealed you don't want to be in love. You want to be in love in a movie. Sorry, Sleepless in Seattle, but that quote doesn't apply to the Bachelor franchise, which has been offering updates worthy of big screen swoons fornbsp over 15 years. And it turns out they pull a lot of their ideas from iconic movies.nbsp and the exclusive sneak peek from tonight's episode of the Bachelor Winter Games above. Ashley Iaconetti and her Canadian beaunbsp Kevin Wendt go on a pottery date and, of course, pay homage to Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze's infamous pottery scene in Ghost. And recreating an iconic film scene, like the Ghostnbsp one, is one ofnbsp the Bachelor producers' go-to moves when coming up with date ideas. When we were tooling across rural Vermont looking for dates for the Winter Games, we came to this great little pottery studio. It felt like the perfect spot for a date, but how can you do a romantic pottery date without thinking of that classic scene in Ghost? Executive producer Bennett Graebner exclusively tells E! News. Our director of photography loved the idea of recreating that scene, and he worked his magic. With the right lighting and the appropriate music cue, we had a great date on our hands, no pun intended. Ashley and Kevin's Ghost-inspired date is definitely one of the franchise's most romantic homages, but it's far from its first. Below, Graebner reveals the surprising movies that have inspired classic Bachelor moments in recent seasons. Innbsp. Season 19, Episode 7. Chris Sowles recreates the ending of the Breakfast Club in this episode. Prince Charming brought Jade to his hometown of Arlington, Iowa, and they visited his old high school and attended a football game. The nostalgia rubbed off on the producers, as Graebner explains. We couldn't help but end the date the same way John Hughes had ended The Breakfast Club, with an outstretched fist held high while walking off the field. Before filming the homage, it seems The Bachelor needed a quick refresh of the iconic movie. Funny enough, Annbsp Chris didn't really remember the movie, so we had to pull it up on YouTube for him. He instantly got it, and we knocked this out in about 5 minutes. Annbsp, which shows that sometimes these anecdotes can be added in as easily as that. Season 20, Episode 8, Ben Higginsnbsp and Caila Quinn recreate the ending of Annbsp Officer and a GentlemanObviously Ben Higgins. One of the most popular bachelors in history, would be the one to pay homage to one of the most beloved movie endings of all time, one of Graebner's personal favorites. Caila took Ben to her dad's toy factory for her hometown date, and it was very much a working factory. I always loved that scene at the end of An Officer and a Gentleman, when Richard Gere shows up to profess his love to Debra Winger before picking her up and whisking her away. Ben and Caila were gracious enough to recreate the moment for us. However, it seems neither Ben or Caila knew of the iconic moment they were recreating, with Graebner saying, "I'm sure not everyone picked up on the reference, but again, that's okay." Season 21, Episode 9, Raven Gates pays homage to 500 Days of Summer's musical montage after spending the night in the fantasy suite. After admitting to The Bachelor she had never experienced an orgasm, Raven was seemingly on cloud 9 post-fantasy suite time. Cue the joyous music. We wanted to visually depict Raven's mood post-fantasy suite, and we knew we would never do better than Joseph Gordon-Levitt did in 500 Days of Summer, so we used that film as a reference point, Graebner says. We only had the scenery of Lapland, Finland to work with, but I think we got the point across. Season 21, Episode 9, Nick Viall works out like Rocky Balboa. Better way to reference Nick's transformation over the Bachelor years than with a workout montage, putting his hard work on display with a snowy workout in Finland a rugged Rocky in Russia in Rocky IV. And guess what? It was actually Nick's idea. This sequence of Nick training in the snow ended up in the credits for the penultimate episode of the season, Graebner says. Nick is a big Rocky fan, and he came up with this idea, which was not only really fun, but also gave him a good workout. Season 22, Episode 4, Ari Lyandic Jr. takes the women on a Best in Show group date. The show upped the homage factor, getting Best in Show star Fred Willard to serve as Chris Harrison's co-host for the women's dog show, which Graebner admits production knew might be challenging. "We thought there was Annbsp chance that this date might be a Ghostnbsp because Innbsp kids and Annbsp can be difficult to film with. So, we thought we would have a little fun and see if legendary Fred Willard was available to lend it a comedic touch just as he had in Best in Show." Annbsp. It ended up working out great with Innbsp and Chris Harrison's just by Innbsp absolutely hilarious Innbsp together. Season 22, Episode 5, Ari recreates the Big Lebowski licking a bowling ball. Ari got to the bowling alley a little early that day so we could have some fun with this, Graebner said of the show's unexpected homage to the 1998 cult classic. "There is no bowling movie like The Big Lebowski, and Ari was game to recreate the moment that John Turturro made famous." However, it seems not every member of Bachelor Nation has seen the movie, as Graebner adds. Innbsp did see a lot of people on social media wondering why Ari was licking a bowling ball. They obviously hadn't seen The Big Lebowski, and they should. Annbsp. The Bachelor airs Mondays at 8 p.m. Will Innbsp. The Bachelor Winter Games airs tonight and Thursday at 8 p.m., all on